boy, we back.
Hola, hola, hola.
Hey, welcome. Today we're coming at you with quite the heavy dose of sports.
Mm-hmm. Sports.
But before we get into sports, Kyle tells me he had a wild night. We want to really dive into this since we don't have too many wild nights anymore, and I'm very intrigued by what this man has to offer.
I got a double dose of wild nights, if you may.
Oh, shit!
Little entendre there. So the first one was I know a guy that knows a guy that's got a vaccine. So get set up for that, and turns out I have to bring the kids because whatever, I just needed it. So get in the SUV, we go out. We have to go out to Langley, dropping them off at the grandma's for the hour or whatever it needs for me to get the vaccine. Get to about 2:32, and hear Brooklyn, my daughter, start crying. She doesn't really cry in car rides. She just chills. I've got angel babies. They don't cry. So I was like, this is kind of weird. And she's crying in like a hard cry, where like parents know there's like the fake bullshit cry of like I want to do shit and like something's actually going on. So she's got the something's going on cry, and I'm just about to take the exit, and I just hear she starts throwing up everywhere, all over the place, and I'm freaking out because this has never happened to me. And of course Brittany's not here for that, so zip off the highway, get off to the side, and I go back, and she's just smiling, whatever. I'm like, cool, we're good with this, I guess. And I undress her, clean her off, put her in her other clothes, go a little bit further, same thing happens again, like 5 times before I get to grandma's house. So my hour trip turns into a 2.5 hour trip, and can't even end up going to get the vaccine. Because what ended up happening, because I'd given her some new treats right before we left, just like candies that she hadn't had before, and I thought that must have been it. Turns out she had a little sneaky smoothie hideaway spot. So she had a smoothie for breakfast, and then took that smoothie and hid it somewhere in her playroom, and came back for it right before we left. Had a couple slips about 6 hours after it was originally made. So it was not good. There was plenty of milk in it. It was a nightmare. Just disgusting. By the time we got to grandma's, she was naked. Like I was in her last diaper. She doesn't even normally wear diapers, but I had to put something on her. And then we get there, and she's like, "Hi, Grandma." Just completely fine. Doesn't get sick again. Doesn't even cry. We're there for like a couple hours, and I'm like, "It was me? Did we just not like me?" But so that's the adult wild night for me, or the parent. But our boy Max, he's moving next week. He's out. He's heading out to Texas. Him and Leah. So decided to have one last drinking night out. And him and our boy Brock, they got connections. So Brock's a server. He's served everywhere, and then Max has drank and ate everywhere in town. So they know pretty much everybody. So we get there probably 5:15, 5:30. Our reservations are for 5. We still get the nice seats. We still get everything. Happy hour is still 6. So Brock gets there about 6:15, but basically we get there and they're like, okay, what do you want for your orders? What are you guys thinking of drinking? And ends up we get a good 6 drinks each, doubles, placed on our bill before happy hour is done. Get all our food. Brock has 4 drinks and a couple shots. He's not even there yet. It ends up I don't know about them because they kept going after me, but I drank enough. And I realized that I have no idea when I'm drunk. I have no idea that I'm drunk, but Brittany knows the moment. Because she came to pick me up, and I'm like, oh, see you guys, blah, blah, blah. Go over, spend like the least amount of money I've ever spent going out drinking. And I get to the CRV, and she's like, are you sure you can get in the car? Like, because if you throw up in my car, I'm freaking out. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not even drunk. I didn't even think I was drunk. I'm drinking double vodka slimes and shots for the last 3 hours. I feel fine. We get home, she's like, you should probably go sit by the toilet. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, this is, like, didn't make any sense.
I'm fine.
2 minutes later, and it's fucking toilet bowl city. I was throwing up for hours. I'm like, what happened to me? Like, I don't even remember getting drunk. When was the point where I was supposed to be, like, super wasted and, like, oh, I should drink water? Like, I don't get that. My body doesn't, it goes 0, and in the middle of the 100 is when I'm throwing up. I'm not even there yet. But, yeah, I ended up, definitely the best part was the server. I've never had that kind of thing before where, like, normally you try and get your last drink in before a happy hour, like, and they'll just avoid your table for the 3 minutes so that they can get more money off tips or whatever. But she was, like, right on top of it, made sure we were drinking. But, the big shit part was that, Britt normally works Sunday nights. Mm-hmm. She had to work Sunday morning. So this was Saturday. Oh, so boy. Your boy was up at 7, and I don't know when I went to bed after throwing up, and those Tylenols were flowing. Just as many as I could fit in my mouth, wrap them in bread, fix this shit for me, let me get to my day.
Oh man! Yeah, so it was, when I was in college, they would call that candy. Just like, hey, we got any candy lying around? Someone would be like, yeah, throw a bottle.
That's a candy.
Everyone's got their candy. I was like, man.
You gotta have one candy, man.
we'd have that one coach too with the smelling salts, just in case you really weren't in it. He's like, are you good?
Wake
you good?
The fuck up.
Try some of this. And some of these. It was always spicy. I was always smart enough to know. I know what smelling salts do. I know I don't need them. I also was active in my, preparation to make sure I was good for the game, that I didn't need smelling salts to be ready. I was already ready. But some of these rookies, they'd be like, oh yeah, I've seen my hockey bros do this. Like, I'm ready to go. I'm a gamer. So like, yeah, let me get some. And then they're like, oh my God. And they're like freaking out and coughing. And I'm just like, get a good night's sleep and eat a meal, and you don't need it.
It's rabies for your nostril. It's like a little bit less side effects, but you're pretty close.
Yeah,
there's a good chance you bite somebody that grabs you wrong. So
I've never needed smelling salts, but honestly, I never even took Tylenol for football either. Like, I was in pain, but like,
yeah, you just blacked out and sat down for a couple minutes. Like, I remember your stories when you got back after university. You're like, yeah, I was working out and then like kind of went black, so I sat on the bench for a little bit, and then the lights came back on and I kept working out. I'm like, okay, this is fun.
Yeah,
this sounds healthy.
Yeah,
I think
so
you got a good handle on it.
I think it's like the only time I ever like passed out. I like felt it coming. And I was like, I knew why, since I hadn't had like anything to drink or eat in a long time, and like I had to
get a workout. And I about 6 guys with my forehead this week, so that might have helped.
I mean, not totally wrong, but yeah, I just remember like I was on a bench. I was like going down the stairs to like the next gym, and I remember thinking, oh no, and my buddy's like, what? And I just remember, just give me a sec. And I like stopped. I was like, because I was in front of him going down the stairs. I like stopped at like the turn, and I just like lied down. And I like, remember I was laying down for like barely a half second, and my eyes just closed. And I was like, and it was like any later, and I would have fallen probably.
Yeah.
But I just had enough steam to get myself on the ground and lie down, and then it just hit. And then I remember I opened my eyes a minute later, and like my boy's just like, yo, are you good? And then like within like 2 minutes, like all of the therapy staff, because the trainers are all in like the same building, they're like running down and up the stairs from both directions to come see if I'm good. And I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. Let's keep going. It was
when you have to rate your CTE to like, I've only kind of passed out once. That's a scale you don't generally need. Like, not everybody's like, oh yeah, I was just like close to passing out this one time from the concussions. The other times I was fine.
Yeah, I think it's crazy because like the injuries that like for me, my injuries when I was in college, well, almost from like the first day, I like rolled my ankle in my first training camp, so I had bad ankles all through college. It never went away. I remember I had an ankle brace, and I thought I was good after recovering from the first one, and then oh, there goes the second ankle. I'm like, cool. Now I'm on 2 ankle braces for the rest of my career.
That's what they actually say, that it's almost better to fracture your ankle than it is to roll it or twist it, because when you fracture it, you have to give it a chance to heal, and there's a good chance, it's not like the same chance that you're going to fracture it again, but when you sprain it or twist it, you kind of walk it off, and it's just permanently there, and it's just easier to do every single time.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a career-long injury, whereas like a fractured ankle, it's a season or something.
Yeah, and that's, that does hold point too, because for the rest of my career, like I said, I wore 2 ankle braces, but that didn't mean that I didn't roll my ankle again. Sometimes I didn't tie it tight enough. Sometimes I just stepped even worse. But I definitely rolled my ankle again several times, and all that meant was just tie it tighter. Just
just means my ankle hurts a little bit more this game.
And ankle flexibility is good for your agility. And sometimes I felt like I was out there on peg legs, because I was I don't have feet. I have these long stumps that I plant off of, and I just suck up the pain of the planting. Because like you said, it is what it is sometimes. Was it the good choice? No. But I had 5 short years to play, so I tried to do it.
If you're playing sports and you sit down every time that you get an ankle injury, or you hurt your thumb or something, like playing basketball, we'd get ankle twists, but
or
you
jam
your finger, and it's just that's unfortunate.
Yeah, right.
You just hope it was your left hand.
Right? That's the thing too, because I played on the line, you got your hands on somebody, and if someone's helmet comes and smashes the back of your hands, I can't feel it right now, but I hope nothing's broken. I'll find out in an hour when the swelling goes down a little, and I can actually feel my hand.
I don't need to feel. I know where it needs to go. I'll put it there. This will be easier for me.
Exactly. That's why I didn't need candy. I had direct impact numbing. So I
just didn't feel anything.
Yeah, exactly. I was already numb because my cells were dead. my nerves. But yeah, other than the ankles, there was the back, and I remember the back started because I was playing against Western. It's one of the bigger teams in the country, and I remember I was on kick return, and I was I think it was the lead wedge blocker. For those that don't know, basically everyone on the other team has a 30-yard running sprint at me, and I've got to make sure the guy behind me's got the ball, cool, and I have to run headfirst into that wall of people and try and be the hammer. And I remember this
real quick. One time, I was on the punting team, and I was like, I'm going to hit this big guy, because I didn't think he was looking, and he turned around right as I hit, and the guy was in your position. I just bounced. It was as if I wasn't there, because I don't even think he looked down at me. I hit, and he went and blocked somebody else. But keep going, sorry.
But yeah, and so I remember this guy was running down, and he was bigger than me. So you'd think this wouldn't work out.
Yeah.
But he was also crazier. He went head down and full on tried to spear me. And I remember I just was ooh, and you know how in MMA they sprawl and they kick their legs back so they'll get taken down?
Yeah.
I basically took him full head first into my stomach and just sprawled so that I wouldn't get blown up.
Yeah.
And I just took it and I was ooh, and I just remember puking in my mouth. And I just remember holding it. And then he fell on the ground and I fell on top of him and I got up and then the whistle had gone pretty quick after that. And I just remember swallowing the puke and jogging off the field going I'm good.
Yeah, this didn't hurt.
I'm wheezing still. And I remember I go off the field and I'm just I'm so numb. My whole body is numb. And I'm oh, I guess I'm fine. And so I finished the game. And so I walked home from the stadium and I basically went immediately to bed. And when I woke up in the morning, I was in so much pain that I couldn't actually get out of bed. And so this was the start of another reoccurring injury for Dustin, because this was in my 3rd year. And so basically what this meant was we had our game on the Saturday. I was fucked up. I went to bed. Sunday we had recovery. I called my coaches, told them I can't come. I can't get out of bed.
I literally can't even recover.
They don't do house calls therapy usually, so if I can't get to therapy, they can't help me. I'm stuck. So I stayed in bed. Then Monday comes around, and that's like our first practice, and I told Coach I still haven't actually left my bed since the game. I didn't get up to go to the washroom yesterday. I didn't go and eat yesterday. I stayed in bed and just like tried to sleep the pain away. On Monday, I had to go to the washroom. There was no avoiding it. So I had to like try to get out of bed. And that was the first time I left my bed because I was actually going to piss my pants. Like it had been a while.
Necessary.
It had been more than 24 hours since I'd been in the washroom. So I managed to get to the toilet and I took care of myself. Then as far as eating, I was also starving at this point because it had also been over 24 hours since I've eaten. I was able to text my boys. My boys were able to hook me up with some food. And take care of me briefly. I basically went back to bed and just stayed in bed all of Monday.
Yeah.
Tuesday was the first time I was able to like actually like walk around the house and get to the couch. We've made it to the couch. On Wednesday, I was able to walk to school. And the thing was like the pain was like, it had me so stiff in my back that every time I would move, it felt like something in my back was stabbing me in the back of the lungs, and it would just cut my breath. So it's like I could just like, it'd be inhaling, and it's like you just freeze, your breath's just cut off, and it's just like a sharp pain in your back. And I was like kind of scared. Yeah. Didn't know what to do. I couldn't raise my arms, couldn't do anything. Like I was just like completely stuck. So Wednesday, I was able to get to school and go to practice and be everywhere. On Thursday, I was still in pain, but I'm at like, pretty good turnaround on Thursday. I'm at like 70%. I actually like jogged a little bit. Friday was our walkthrough, and I was able to run, but I didn't have any contact. I didn't really have any time. And then Saturday was game day, and I played. And like, I wasn't at 100%, but I was on special teams. I made it work. Did what I had to do.
And in no point that this, like, you can't breathe. It feels like your lungs getting punctured by your spine.
I think it was a rib, to be honest.
You can't get out of bed. And you're like, I don't need a doctor. There's nobody specialized in diagnosing what might be wrong with me. Like, I'll figure it out just in bed.
But I was able.
My boys got me McDonald's. I got McDonald's and Domino's. I think I can figure this out.
What was frustrating was like, this kind of continues. Like, that basically for the rest of that season, that was every week. Every week, I just didn't go anywhere. Like Monday through Tuesday,
Jesus
and I would just stay home. And then I'd start walking again and get healthy enough to play the game. Fortunately, the season wasn't that long, so once that was done, I was actually able to recover. I was able to actually go to school again, so that was cool. But basically, like, the therapy staff just never really gave me a good answer, and honestly never really fixed me, because every now and then I'll still get, like, a pop in my back if I'm doing something like military press, where you have, like, the bar, like, over your head and pressing like that. Military press is one that's caused me injuries several times, just because it's like my arms are up and I guess it's a weak spot for me.
Yeah, right in the middle of your back.
It's that same pop, can't breathe, and it's happened at least 10 times since that initial injury. And the best they've been able to tell me is that, I think it's a rib or something, or a muscle spasm. And I'm like, there's a lot of I thinks.
Yeah, I'm glad we were here.
Not a lot of I knows.
I'm glad you have the same opinion as I do.
Yeah, so they were able to, do like, I did ice baths and, contrast baths, so ice and hot. I did that so many times, can't even count. Had massages, chiropractors. They even put those like electro things on me. Like, they've done so many things to my back as far as the recovery process. I mean, I'm fine day to day now. I mean, I still have a sore back more often than not, but
not the same level.
It didn't stop me from playing. Problem is the next season, same fucking kid did the same thing, and I was literally like, it was like day one. It was like day one all over again, and that was
fortunately think of, like, El Toroing him, like just puts his head on.
Because if I just like whiff on this guy, he blows up the ball carrier.
Because I'm the be the last one, yeah.
I'm like the first line of blow him up. So I have to take that shot. That's like literally what my position was on that team. So I was like, All right.
Man, your team really liked you. You're the guy that gets the first big hit. That's a weird spot, but I guess you have to put somebody there.
Sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, you gotta have somebody there.
And fortunately, it was near the end of the season, so it was only like 2 weeks of that going through the season. The rest of the season, I was relatively healthy.
It's always crazy to think of like how like you can take that kind of injury and not walk for a week, but like you can take that at the beginning of a game and be fine. You could run, you could do everything you need to, and then at the very end it's like, oh yeah, I can't move my arms anymore. Like it's so many times when I busted my head open, and I was going up for a rebound, a guy much bigger than me went up, got it, came down elbow high, got me in the eye. I'm like, that sucks. And I kind of like, I was seeing stars, couldn't really see straight, but I was like, I'll just walk it off, I'll figure it out. And I'm running up and down, we're doing whatever, and then the ref starts blowing the whistle, and everybody starts looking at me weird. And I'm like, what? Like, what's going on? They're like, my coach immediately is like, put your head back. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, I don't want you to get blood on your jersey so you could still play. And I'm like, what do you mean? And it was gushing blood. There's blood everywhere anyway. Oh, no. But he was trying to make sure I didn't get blood on my jersey in case I could clean it and get back out. I was like, thanks for the idea. But yeah, I was pretty fucked up, and I didn't notice it at all. And then once I got to the hospital, I was like, okay, yeah, I took a fucking hammer on the head. But it's cool when you think of what your body can take if you actually want to do what you're doing.
I mean, I think there's definitely a certain level of pride in being tough, but at the same time, sometimes I feel stupid.
Oh, it's always stupid hindsight. It's like anytime that you injure yourself to the point of like not being able to walk the next day, but you continue doing something, it's because you're dumb.
Right? Like there's some things that, like some injuries that didn't really matter. Like when I was in high school, I jammed up my fingers, and now like I don't know how well you can see on the camera, but like, you know, you can relatively put your fingers together, and like here my fingers just naturally go apart because at some point I fractured them and they just healed wrong. But like that stuff to me, whatever. I played through it, never really thought twice about it. But then the head injuries, those are the ones that I felt that for a long time. I remember that started hot in my first year. At the end of the season, I was in our spring camp, our fall camp. No, yeah, spring camp. Spring camp the next year, after my first season, and I remember one of the guys, he was like one of the vets. He was like 27 at the time. I think I had turned...
You should be 27?
So when I first started, they hadn't made that rule official yet. Oh, okay. So guys could play their 5 years of eligibility really at any time in Canada. So there was a guy on my team that was 29 when I was 19.
Jesus.
Yeah. He was a receiver. I didn't have to deal with him. Yeah. But there was a guy that was 27 when I was 19. And I did have to deal with him.
That'd be a smart route. If you know you're not going to the league and you're like, I just want to fuck these kids up.
I'm like 30. I've got my own business. I'm doing just fine. Wouldn't it be fun to go fuck up some college kids?
I got 5 years of college left.
Yeah, so I did have to deal with the one guy. And basically, on the one play, he like grabbed me and I let him get a real good grip on my shoulder plate, or my chest plate. And he was just like, pop, 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 pop. And I'm just like, And at first I was like, yeah, I'm here. And then I'm just like fading. And I'm just like, until I was like limp. And then he just like dropped me and I was just like, and I remember, I guess that was probably the first time I passed out actually. So that time I also woke up to a bunch of trainers around me. And I remember.
So this guy just headbutted you?
It was more like a jackhammer technique. And it really put me to sleep.
This is where football is crazy. That's a technique.
Growing up, they would teach you 3 points.
Hit yourself in the face.
Like growing up, they would teach you 3 points of contact. They didn't have the concussion rules when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So even like when we were playing together, on the line, they would say 3 points of contact. When you hit someone, bang, 1, 2, 3, and like,
oh my god,
I took that to heart. Yeah. My helmet's fucked.
You took that to
I've
the head.
shown those pictures and we've talked about that, but that helmet's fucked because of those reasons.
Yeah.
And like that day, like I ended up, they took me off, and I had to actually like follow a concussion protocol, and I had to stay in a room for like 2 or 3 weeks and just in the black, and have my friends bring me food, and they told me listen to music quietly, don't watch TV. They said the light was not good, stay in the dark. So basically all I had was my iPod and like some music for like a couple weeks. Ironically, that's when I discovered Skrillex.
Oh my god.
I remember I'm just like listening to so much music. I had nothing to do, and I was like, I heard he's popular. I've always thought he sounds stupid, but maybe if I just give him an honest deep dive, I'll be into it. And I remember I was just like, it wasn't like it was super loud, like crushing my head loud, but it was like as loud as I could handle without getting a headache.
Yeah.
And I'm just listening to womp, 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 womp. And I'm like, I'm not sure if this is what the doctor wanted, but like...
It's not really like the waves going over the coast, but like it's kind of soothing.
But yeah, so that was the start of the head issues, and then I've definitely had more concussions after that. But like once I finished the protocol, I was kind of like, all right, be careful, don't take too many head shots, watch what you're doing. But like I would say even until like a year or two after I was like retired, when I put my head on the pillow, I could feel my head pulsing. I could feel the thud of my heartbeat in my head because of just like the after effects.
How many times?
And I remember many times, like especially early on, where I was scared. I'm like, oh my god, what's wrong with me? What did I do? Like,
yeah, am I forgetting shit?
This doesn't feel good. But those symptoms have gone away. Most of the headaches are gone. The only headaches I get now is if I actually just hit my head on things. So it's not as bad, like that bad, like, but yeah, I would say is those things though, like those head injuries, they suck so much because when you're on the sidelines, like with the ankle injury, I've got like the crutches and everything, my ankle hurts. If I try to run, I feel the pain again. Yeah. With a head injury, it's like you relatively feel fine until you're exerting yourself.
Yeah.
So you sit there and you feel like I can do this. And then there's a certain part too where, concussions are kind of like the tendons in the ankle too, where it's like once it happens once, it's so much easier for it to happen again. And then you're sitting there, you're feeling bored because you're like, I can do this. And then you get to the point where you're actually on the field again, and it's like, do I stick my head in there again? Do I want to keep doing this?
Yeah.
I do it once, I feel good, I feel confident, I do it again. And every now and then you get a good shot, and you're like, oh, that was probably too much.
Yeah, you catch one.
That was the one. And then you just kind of like slowly play with it. And like, I think I've said it before, but like by the end of my career, it was like I knew I had like one good shot. If I take one good shot, it better be worth some because I'm going to fuck myself up for the rest of the week if I do this. So we'll see how it goes.
Football is ridiculous. Football's the craziest, weirdest sport. So we got to switch it to basketball now.
Oh, shit.
Okay, so playoffs are set. It's the coolest part about the NBA this season is obviously because last season, COVID season, they had to kind of do whatever, but they finally implemented the play-in tournament that a lot of fans have asked for because it's the big reason for it is it incentivizes teams not to tank. Mm-hmm. So the idea is not like top 8 teams make playoffs, but in this the 7 and 8 team play each other for the 7th spot, and then the 9th and 10th play each other. Whoever wins between that plays the loser of the 7-8 game for the chance to be that 8th spot. So it basically opens the door because I think there's like 16 teams in both conferences. So it opens it so there's technically 10 teams that have a chance of making it. So for instance, the Washington Wizards, they're in the play-in tournament this year, and they had a record of something like 11-32 or 17-32, where like in a regular season, you're looking at that like this is at the midway. They're like, okay, we're probably gonna blow this up and just tank. But because there's a play-in tournament, they still have the opportunity to make it, and they ended up making it to the point of the play-in. So now they're 1 or 2 wins away from making the playoffs.
So no one can really miss the playoffs just off their record.
There is the bottom 6 from each conference.
Oh, okay.
They're gonna miss, so you have to be bad. But there's at least there's a healthy competition between that. It opens up the door for 2 more teams to make it where they normally wouldn't. So, like right now, like especially in the West, you have the Lakers and the Golden State Warriors are playing in the play-in tournament 7-8, which is the cool part about it is it takes the aspect of football that I enjoy, where it's the one and done, the who shows up tonight, because out of those 2 teams, you've got Steph Curry is the hottest shooter in the world right now, the best shooter there's ever been, but he's going off on everybody right now.
Yeah, every time I turn on my Instagram, he's fucking lighting it up.
He's scorching somebody. He's hit more threes than anybody. He's got a better percentage. I think he hit the 50-40-90. No, that was Kyrie Irving hit 50-40-90 club. It's just whatever. But he's going off like crazy. Then obviously on the other side, you got King James and AD. That's a huge duo, but this is one game. If Steph Curry goes off for 60, 70, he could go off for 80. He could go for a Kobe 181. Like, he could do that at any time with his shooting ability.
You never know.
So that one game, you gotta show up, and obviously LeBron and AD are capable of showing up, and it's gonna be an awesome game to watch. It's gonna be tomorrow.
I think that's quite interesting that this is the first time that possibility has actually been a thing. Where you have like one chance, single knockout.
Yeah, it's a lot of people have talked about it because the big thing of the last couple of years in the NBA is the tanking. That's what everybody's complaining about, because the team would start off early, like Philadelphia 76ers. Their whole motto is trust the process. Their process was getting G League players and they got the number 1 overall pick, so they drafted a guy that doesn't want to come to the States yet. So they drafted a Euro guy. And then the next time they'll draft a guy that was injured. So they just kept getting first overall picks because they weren't playing anybody good. So they put out shit product for 3 or 4 years. Finally got a good team. It worked out in the long run, but it's not the way people want to see it work. They want to see like you actually trying and have some kind of something to show for your efforts. Because if you try your hardest and you don't make the playoffs, you're just another scrub team that doesn't have a great pick. So that's where people are getting sick of that. So a lot of people had been talking about having basically a play-in tournament, but not for the actual playoffs, but for your draft spot. Like the winner of the worst teams would get the first overall pick and subsequently down. But there's a lot of upsides down. Upside is you might have a bunch of teams that actually, like the better teams going for it to get a better team to keep going. But you're also asking all these players to play their hardest to draft their replacement, to draft the guy that is potentially coming in to change the entire culture of the team and take over.
Yeah,
so your best players are now going to be the second best.
And you're also forcing further disparity from a team that maybe their best player retired and now they're poo.
Yeah. How
do they get better if their poo just results in average picks and no actual talent coming their way? That disparity just gets lengthened.
Yeah, I could see that part. I never really like care if your best player just left and you didn't make a plan for that kind of thing. I mean, that you're kind of shit out of luck. I don't think you should be going for the number 1 overall pick because now you have a bad team. I think you should be trying to do something like trying to get better, and your GM, your coaches, that should be kind of where it's coming from, and your players within. Yeah. But this play-in tournament has made it so that like the last games of this season mattered. Like they were playing starters the whole time. The teams that were out, they knew they were out, and they could kind of rest their guys. But you didn't see that midway through the season where people were just like, okay, well, this guy's gone. I'm like Washington Wizards. They could have and potentially should have in any other year started shopping Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook, because Bradley Beal is one of the best scorers. Russell Westbrook is a triple-double king, most triple-doubles ever. He just erased Oscar Robertson's legacy. Like nobody's gonna even say Robertson's name anymore because his thing was back in the day and nobody really knew. But Russell Westbrook just did it 4 out of 5 seasons. He's clearly the best all-around stats get it. I don't even know how to explain it, because that's the thing. Everybody talks shit like, oh, he's padding his stats and blah blah. How come nobody else does? How come nobody else has ever been able to pad their stats this much on 3 different teams?
Yeah, like not even LeBron can just pad stats like that.
Yeah, nobody can just get 11 rebounds. Nobody can just get 11 assists, because otherwise everybody would. Like they aren't choosing not to do this. They're like, oh no, I don't want triple doubles. Like it's a fucking hard thing to do, and he's the best at it. So he gets his props. But Washington should have been shopping them early in the year, looking at the trade deadline. But they knew they were still in the running to get that play-in tournament. Because they knew that, they kept with it. He went off for like, I don't know how many triple-doubles to finish off the season, and they end up with the ninth seed. So now they're in the play-in tournament. They have a chance of making it. And yet again, you've got 2 guys that you give them 2 nights to get a W. It's hard to bet against those 2. So they have a real chance of making it when they would have never. And even with what they did in any other year, he gets all those triple doubles. They do all this stuff. They miss the playoffs. But this play-in tournament gave them a chance, and it's the best thing that's happened to basketball in a long time. Different people have varying opinions. Like they don't like that. Oh, now these people at the 7 and 8, they have to play another game even though they proved they were good enough. It's like they barely did. Like they just are good enough. Like they just got a C. Like these guys got B's and A's and you got a C, and you're complaining that you have to play this guy that at a C minus. Fucking prove who's better. Figure it out. You can't win one game. What do you think you're doing in the playoffs then? Whoever is best should be there. Prove that you're the best. You make it. So I think it's an awesome addition to the NBA.
I think it definitely makes that extra bit of competitiveness. That's only going to make it better. It's only going to make things better.
It basically lifted the floor. So
and you said LeBron was against this?
Yeah, so LeBron is clearly any eye test best basketball player of all time. Doesn't matter. Off the court, he gets annoying. He's always he tweets about stuff. He has one of the biggest platforms in the world, and he'll tweet about stuff that he kind of knows. And it's like after Derek Chauvin was convicted, he tweeted a picture of a different cop that it wasn't at all the same situation, but he was willing to do that tweet right off the bat because he's got this kind of air of like he is the biggest guy. He has a huge platform. He's like, I'm gonna make a mark. Clearly missed the mark. Then he gets into the 7th seed, the Lakers, because he was injured. He missed a lot of time. AD missed a lot of time. They ended up slipping down to the 8th and 7th seed, and now he started talking about like, this is whoever decided this needs to be fired. There should not be a play-in tournament. This is ridiculous. We earned our spot. Blah blah blah. It's like, dude, if you weren't in that spot, you wouldn't even care. Like you'd be like, yeah. Like, if the Atlanta Hawks are there, yeah, they should definitely have to play in, because, like, let's see Trae Young prove blah, blah, blah. But because you're proving yourself, you think you should just get the pass? That's what I kind of liken it to that soccer league. How they made the Super League so that they didn't have to worry about maybe not making it to the Champions League. They wanted to double down that I'm going to get my money by being here, but if I don't make Champions League, I don't make any money. So they're going to double down, make their own league that they don't even have to work to get to. That's basically what he was. I don't know if that's what he meant by it, but clearly that's what it looks like and would seem like. And yeah, so he was bitching about having to play another game, but nut up. You're probably gonna have to play 2. Steph's going the fuck off. Like you're gonna have to prove yourself this year because Father Time's on his ass. Everybody's wondering when it's gonna happen. He hasn't been this injured ever,
and it's looking like it might happen this year.
Yeah, but one thing that I did see that was very surprising. I didn't really put it together beforehand, but when people talk about like the greatest scorers of all time, they're obviously they talk about Durant, Kobe, Jordan, Harden's in that discussion now. Different players like that. Mm-hmm. But a stat that I saw is the most times that somebody's had 25 plus points in a season is 12 seasons in their career. So
Yeah.
that's Kobe, that's Jordan, Malone, and I think a couple other guys. But the next step, the person that's done more than that is LeBron, who has averaged 25 plus points in 17 straight seasons.
That's gross.
He's a pass first guy. He's considered the guy that doesn't take the final shot, that doesn't shoot the ball and relies on his teammates. And he's the only person to average 25 plus for 17 straight seasons. That's a crazy stat that I never heard. I never would have thought.
Is LeBron pass first though?
He's out of any. If you think about it, lately
is in like since he's been with the Lakers.
Oh no. Because that's his biggest drawback that everybody gives him shit for, is that in big moments he's willing to make the right pass. Like if they're down by 1, he drives, he gets triple teams, he'll pass the ball to Matthew Dellavedova in the corner and he'll miss the 3. And everybody's like, Kobe would have shot that, Jordan would have shot that, a real scorer would have shot that.
How many big games has that cost him to lose though?
He's had a lot where he's in playoffs, big playoff moments, he'll make that pass anyway and they'll lose the game and he lives on it. But he's known as a pass first player. That's why he's still considered people consider him a point guard. Like a lot of times when he came to LA, they were talking about him playing the Magic Johnson position as a point guard.
I don't know. I feel like he has a long highlight reel of game-winning shots. I don't think that's something you call a pass-first player.
Okay.
Does John Stockton have a game-winning shots highlight reel?
I will for sure tell you that he has always been known as a pass-first player, but I do agree that he is a scorer. But that's what the perception of him behind is, that he's a pass-first guy that doesn't take all the shots. Because I think it's also because he has a high efficiency.
I think I agree that he's definitely probably more of a team player than some of the late Kobe's are, for sure.
Yeah.
I guess I can't even think of a moment in the historic Miami Heat run he did where there's a poster where it's not him on top of the ball putting in the hoop.
But that's also the thing. He was the point guard for that team. So that's
the point guard? Because
their point guards were Mario. The point guard was Mario Chalmers because he could catch and shoot threes. So he played point to defend the point guard, but LeBron had the ball at pretty much all times, or Wade.
But what I'm saying though is like, even if that's the case, every single highlight from even those eras, it's always LeBron with the ball jamming it.
Because there's no such thing as an assist highlight.
I don't know. Watch every Steve Nash highlight tape.
That's okay.
He's got a highlight tape. Come on.
That is true. But if you actually watch the highlights, you would see that most of it is like the whole reason that Miami Heat was changed basketball is because they spread the floor and it was a pass first offense. He was making most of those passes. There's a reason I think he averages 8 or 8.5 assists per game. I think that might even be for his career. That's a lot of assists, especially for a guy that's a scorer in your eye. But like if you put them in a lineup, you say Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, Kobe. Do you think when you look at those players, do you think that LeBron is the same type of scorer as them? Or do you think of them as the scorers and him as an all-around or a pass first?
It's a valid argument.
That's where it is. That's where most of people's perception, because I consider Kevin Durant to be the best scorer of all time because he's got everything in his bag. Mid-range, deep, anything he wants, he can take.
He's short on MVPs though.
He's short on MVPs, but I'm talking about just scoring. I'm not talking about being the best player on the best team. I'm talking about scoring. He can outscore anybody. That
Steph Curry top 10 all time. There's a reason for
it. I could definitely see it. I think Kevin Durant is right there too. If we're talking pure talent, if we're talking change the game, I can almost see Steph Curry getting into the top 5 because of what he's done to the game of basketball. There's I coach grade 8 basketball. These kids don't know how to shoot, and they're shooting from half court. They're not hitting nothing, but they're willing and able to shoot from anywhere at any time because Steph does it.
I love it.
It's insane.
Question for you.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the playoff bracket,
Oh, the play-ins or the playoff?
The playoff bracket.
Okay.
So, the play-ins, it's got LA and Golden State, and then Memphis and San Antonio. And then on the other side, it's got Indy and Charlotte, Boston and Washington. Let's pretend all 4 of those teams are Dukes and don't make it. The people that are in here, who do you think's winning it? Do you think Clippers, Mavs, Portland, Nuggets look nice?
Coming from the West, you're talking about?
Well, that's just the West, but even in the East, like Milwaukee, Miami's back in the show. Brooklyn's looking gross.
Brooklyn is in the finals. There's
what about
no
what about Philadelphia? They're the 1 seed.
Brooklyn's in the finals. Philadelphia can have their 1 seed. So here's what changes you from being a champion to being a contender. In my eyes, is that the same thing that happens with Giannis. Is that you've got in Philadelphia, you got Joel Embiid and you've got Ben Simmons. Joel Embiid, in my not saying they're the same type of player at all, but I look at him as in a Shaq thing, where you have him, you're gonna be there. You're gonna be at the top at all times because you've got one of the most dominant big men around. But when it comes down to crunch time, you're not giving a guy that like Shaq or Joel Embiid the ball. They're not the creator. They're not going to make that final play because everybody knows what they're going to be doing. They're going to be trying to score because they're not a pass first whatever. Same as Giannis. That's what his biggest knock against him right now is the fact that if he gets it at crunch time, he's only doing one thing, and most likely you want him to do it. You want him to shoot that jump shot.
Yeah.
In Philadelphia right now, they've got Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons can't shoot. That's it. If you can't shoot, you can't be that wingman for a Joel Embiid. And if you can't shoot, if you have the ball at the end of the game, they're just gonna sit off of you. So it creates a hard thing for the finals. Whereas you look at a team like Brooklyn, which one do you want to shoot at the end? Like you've got James Harden, who considers himself a point guard that could shoot from anywhere at any time, get his shot off. You got Kyrie Irving, who is the point guard, who has hit huge shots in finals to win series. He can create a shot at any time. And you've got Durant, who has also hit these shots in finals to put away teams. And he's also the best scorer of all time. You got 3 guys that you get an option at the end of the game. This is where the any given Sunday, you've got 3 guys that at any moment in time, if the score is within 2, they could win the game. It doesn't matter who is on the other side of them. You got 3 options. That's what changes you from being a champion to being a contender. You have those options.
So you're sold on Brooklyn.
I'm sold on Brooklyn. I think they could win it all. I think they will.
You think they're definitely coming out of the East, though?
Yeah, I think there'd have to be a major injury. There'd have to be at least one.
Right now?
Yeah, there has to be at least one of them that goes down, and even then, they'll be a extremely tough out for especially everybody in the East.
And who are they going to play in the finals?
It's honestly, if Denver didn't lose Jamal Murray, they were going, because Nikola Jokic is going to get the MVP this year because he deserves it.
Steph
by
Curry.
far. No, Steph Curry has had a great last half.
Curry
has had a great last half.
It's a great season. What do you mean great last half?
Great last half.
Great season.
He's been
scoring
phenomenal
champion.
This last half.
Scoring champion.
Yes. You know that if you go off for the last half, he's did good in the first half. He hasn't done what Nikola Jokic did in the first half. He's went off in the last half. So has Nikola Jokic. He hasn't stopped going off. He also has no second guy. He doesn't have that Jamal Murray beside him anymore. Whereas, as much as he's not him, he does still have Draymond Green, who has been there forever, who's putting up 18 assist nights. And he's still putting up things.
Put the ball. He put it in Steph's hands.
Exactly.
Nice.
That's the thing. Nobody talks about Draymond Green as if he's just some scrub, but he's been on all defensive teams for as long as he's been in Golden State, and he's been a pivotal part of their entire offense.
Of the feed the Steph offense.
Yes, partially. Steph has went off, and he might even win it off of narrative because Nikola Jokic is like, you don't watch him as much because he's in Denver, but he's been the best player for the entire season. He hasn't taken any time off. He lost Jamal Murray, and he has a winning record since then. So he's gonna win it. If Jamal Murray was there too, they would probably go to the finals and put up a big fight. But barring that, out in the West, I think it's either gonna be Golden State in the finals or Lakers, because Steph Curry he's not human. So
you think even with them coming in the bottom seeds, you think they're gonna make it through all these?
That's what I think.
Whoever wins this bottom seed, Lakers, Golden State, they can go to the finals.
Yeah. These aren't 7 and 8 seeds. They're on paper they are, but these aren't 7 or 8 seeds. You're not walking in like, okay, who's in the second round? You're looking at this like, if I beat them, that means I might win the championship. That's what that means. It doesn't mean like I'm on to the next round. It means I just put a target on my back because I just proved I'm better than the best. So these two, it's going to be one of those two that are in the finals. Like, you can count it. There's nobody's going to dethrone those two.
All right, now to beat around the bush, Lakers or Golden State, who wins it? You got one chance, one opportunity.
I think this game, Golden State's winning it.
So you're saying Golden State versus Brooklyn in the finals?
Well, that's the thing. They play, and then the loser plays the winner of the other one.
So they theoretically could both get in.
Theoretically, realistically, they're both getting in. It's dependent on who's going to be 7th seed, who's going to be 8th seed, I think. But I think they're both going. I think, honestly, I could see. I can't count out LeBron. I can't.
So you're gonna go Brooklyn Lakers.
If he had one leg and Anthony Davis broke his back, he's going to the finals. It happens. If he's in the playoffs, he's in the finals. So I'm putting LeBron there, and I can't bet against him, but I think Brooklyn is gonna win. I think Brooklyn has a championship.
I'm gonna say Golden State Milwaukee, and we'll see.
Golden State Milwaukee.
We'll see if Steph can bring another one back.
That Greek freak train. I want him to. I want him to so bad, but it's tough to be by yourself.
He's a killer. Anyways, that's all the time we got for today.
Yep.
So we'll wrap this up, and we'll pick this up next week.
Yeah.
Peace.
Out.